Hi, welcome back to the True Toy channel. In this video, I want to add a backlight to my CSL grill so that in the daytime, I can actually turn it off, and nighttime, I like to turn it on so that you can actually see the grill. So what I've done is previously I added blackout to my active shutters. So in the daytime, right now it's a little bit gray because it's been worn out. I washed it and I took a road trip. But in the daytime, it's mostly blacked out. And then at nighttime, I actually want you to see the grill, so I want to add the light so that you can actually see the outline and the shade of the CSL grill. This video will be done in 3 parts. First part is just to select an LED and wire it up to the back of the grill. The second part would be to run the wiring from the front of the grill through the side of the fender, through the firewall, and then cross back over to the fuse box on the passenger side. And then the last part is actually to do the fuse tap to connect all the wiring and provide electricity to the LED lights. So thank you for watching. All right, so welcome back to trying to put an LED light in my grill. This is part 1. So what I have here is I have an AC converter to a cigarette DC adapter. I have a cigarette lighter there with a little start on-off button, a push button there. Here I have some other toggle switches. So there's the bottom one with the red dot is a on-off toggle switch, and the top one is actually a dimmer, and they both have the DC 2.1 millimeter connectors, male, female, on the other side. Here I have an extension cable that I'm going to use to run the cable from the grill through the side of the fender to the back of the passenger side firewall. So I think that's a 10-foot cable for that, so that's required as well. So this will make it easier to turn it on or off from inside the car. I'm also going to try to do a fuse tap so that I can draw power to light this up. I would also want to give you some lessons learned, what I did early on, right? So obviously I want to do this really nice and cheap. Nice and cheap always isn't the best, and I'll go through a little bit. So I bought 3 different things. I bought this little LED strip here that's battery powered. Painted it black. What I was going to do is stick it underneath somewhere in the front of the car, have a USB cable. It runs on batteries, so that's a no-no number 1, because you're going to have to change batteries, so you have to put that somewhere convenient. And also, if you took a look at the lighting, is your typical LED lighting that's spaced out every 2 inches or so. So what a couple of things, 2 things. One is that this is white, right? And the light comes out blue, so that's the first thing. And also, you're going to have spaces in between your lights, so when that shines on the grill, you're going to have black spaces in between. You're going to have bright spaces and black spaces. So right off the bat, this doesn't work. So that's number 1. Number 2 is this middle piece here, which is your interior lighting, which is run by, I'll call it an optical cable. It's really not optical at all. It's just a piece of plastic that light goes all the way through. I'm going to turn that on for you here. All right, so now with it on, it has about 6 different outputs here. And again, the lights are not white here, and one of them is damaged, and it's actually coming out yellow. But what you notice from these lights here is that at the very beginning, where the light is coming through, it's very bright. And as long as when you go down the length of the cable, it starts to fade, and it's not very light at all. You can see shades of purple here at the end of the tip here. You'll actually see white light, sort of, kind of, white light coming through at the end, right? So that is not very effective at all. I'm going to pause the video because I'm going to switch to power. All right, now with the other 2 out of the way, now I still have my DC cigarette lighter adapter to the 2.1 millimeter. I put the dimmer on just to show you what the dimmer looks like. And this is the other new LED light. So there's a couple things about it. It's one, flexible, and I'll put a link down into a description down below. One, it's flexible. You can cut it to different lengths, and it's also dimmable. So I have the dimmer here. Let me turn on the dimmer here. Kind of show you different brightness. And I'll go to the max. So as you can see, it's fairly bright, obviously compared to the other ones. So again, this is something that I really like. The only thing is that it's not waterproof. It's IP20. So if it does get wet, I think you can actually get to the LED modules, and it may short out. There is, IP65 rated waterproof LED ribbons or light strings. I'll call it that as well. Those might work better, and I may have to end up replacing these. If I flip it to the side, if you can see the lights here, the modules, seemed, to be very, sort of consistent. It looks like a consistent light flow here, and it doesn't look like it has gaps. You can actually tell the contacts in the back there in bronze or copper, but the light itself that's shining through the flexible part of it, it makes it a very consistent, even feel to it as well. And again, love the brightness here. So I highly recommend this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to stick it on. I'm going to run with them. I'm going to actually put it through a car wash. Obviously, on my grill, I'm going to put it on the parts that's underneath here. So when the water drips or when I wash it, it's going to get at least the least amount of water contact as possible, but it's probably unavoidable. So I'm going to now stick this onto the grill and see if I can wire it up and then have a quick look. All right, so I got my monstrosity all wired up. So basically I went up and tried to trace the grill out, came down, went to the bottom half, came back up through the middle just to go up the side again and then do the other part of the grill up on top. So here's turning on the dimmer, see what it looks like. Okay, and this is turning on full brightness. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put the grill back on the car and then see what it looks like. Welcome back to part 2. I think the most difficult part of this project actually is part 2, where you have to run the cable from the front all the way back to the firewall. So let me use the tip of my extension here. So I wanted the cable to come out here, which is the male portion of the DC cable. I wanted to snake behind this trim piece here through the bumper and then come out here. So what I did was also I removed the trim piece. There's some T30 bolts that you have to pull out. So I'm going to get the cable through here. And let me kind of switch my hands here so I could take a picture of this side here so you can see where the cable's coming from. And I used basically my socket wrench to prop this up. So if you can see, let me send my tool here. So you can see my tool in yellow down there. This is the hole or the space that I'm going to send the cables to, right? So you're going to send your cable, your DC cable down this way, and then through the hole and then snake that through. I'm going to put it on pause while I do that. All right, so I sent the cable down. My fingers are here, and I'm actually holding onto the tip of the DC plug here. I'll try to pull that through, which I can, and there it is. So let me give it a little bit more slack. All right, now to get it by here, basically this piece, you can get this wire in the back through here to pull this down. So I'm going to see if I can do that. All right, so now that's behind this piece here. Now this piece I'm going to send down by just simply pulling on this out here and sending the cable down. And my cable is down here somewhere. It is. So I'll move that over to the side. I'll probably want to give it a little bit more slack here, so that's enough to, connect to the LED lights. That's only a piece of the battle. So I'm back, and I actually want to make this part of the video because it's a big lessons learned video. So I was trying to be smart and take shortcuts. So basically the fuse box is on the passenger side, and that's where I went to do a fuse tap. So I figured I run my cabling through this side. So I hooked up all my LED lights and the connectors on this side here, and then I snaked all the wiring back. Really did a lot of work to try to get it back there. Probably, I would say, 2 hours work, just routing the cables, pulling out the trims. I actually pulled out the back liner for the wheel well as well, to try to get the cabling in, just to find that there is no firewall port that I could find that would open up on that side. So I had to really double back and redo everything. So, basically I spent a good part of this morning just pulling all the cabling back and then tightening, closing everything up. What I also did was I ended up, the cable still, the connector is still here, coming up this side of the bumper. So what I did was I pulled out all the T30 bolts here, and I just slid the bumper forward a little bit, and I took the cabling and I ran the cabling this way. As you can see, the cabling is hanging out here right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start fishing the wire through this way to go through the proper firewall. So, and I say that I'm laughing because, it took me a lot of work to figure that out. So you can see the hole there. I already opened it up. I put a light through the other side so you can actually see where it's shining. I'll take this here, And I'll also push that through so you can actually see where it is. Have it focus a little bit better out of my hands. And that's the firewall hole, right? So to get to that, it's a little bit complicated as well because this is actually blocking it. You can't move that. This channel for the rain, you can't actually move it out of the way. So basically you see this little clip here. There's also a clip down at the bottom, which you probably can't show you, but you get a screwdriver, open up the clips, and you can actually move this out of the way to give you a better, sort of working angle and get your hands down there to snake a wire through. So I haven't put my wire through yet, but that's really the last part of getting the cabling snaked all the way through. And then once I get that all the way through, I have to run it back across from the inside back to the fuse box on the other side to do the fuse tap. And that's a good thing because my fuse taps haven't arrived yet either, so I can't complete that part until that goes up. So at least I can get it through the firewall, button up all the trim, close up the hood, then I'm good on the outside, and all I have to do is the fuse tap on the inside. So I got the DC cable pulled from the firewall, and what I did was the dimmer switch I put by the footrest over here. So what you can do is actually, from the dial, you can actually turn it off and then turn it on. And then I have the cabling. I'll fix that. It's just drooped down a little bit, but I actually passed or fished the cabling for the DC cable through the center console across to the other side on the passenger side to get to the fuse box. All right, welcome to part 3 of this video. I've already pulled the DC cable from the front of the grill through the driver's side through the firewall, and then I ran the cable behind the center console to get it over to the fuse box on the passenger side here. So here's a spool of cable, and here's my DC end. Now what I want to do is I want to tap the fuse into the fuse box. I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to do some testing as well. What I also found was that there's a nut behind the carpeting here. That's right there, that you can use that for ground. The male end of the DC cable, and I put a ring connector that's going to go into the ground, and then the red will go into the fuse tap here. So for the fuse tap, basically if you look at the diagram here, we want to look for the cigarette lighter adapter so that it'll turn off. It won't have constant power to be turned on. I located it down here, again in the footwell. I already pulled it, so it's actually right there, but I want to actually pull this out because I've wanted to learn about how to tap fuses as well. There's a correct way to do it. Not that either way is wrong, but there's one way. If you do it, there'll be constant power. So even if your fuses blow, you'll still get constant power. And I want to reverse it so that when the fuses do blow, that I cut off power. So I want to make sure I'm going to pull the fuses. I want to do the meter test just to make sure I'm not drawing power, which orientation that the fuse should go. All right, so I had turned on the car because we're working with the cigarette lighter adapter, which turns on when the car is on, and it goes off when the car, a couple of minutes after the car is off. So I want to make sure that the car is on. I connected the alligator clamp to the ground. Again, that spot that I indicated back there as well. I have the fuse tapped in, but I don't have any fuses there. So what I'm expecting is that when I put in the multimeter, the tap, I'm not going to get any voltage readings, right? So right now it's inserted, and I don't have any, sort of power, which is good. What I'll do next is I'll reinsert the fuses, and then I'll take a reading. All right, so I reinserted both fuses back into the fuse tap, and now I'm going to retest my probe. Now I do have power, which is reading at 12.7 volts. So this is really the correct way I want to do it. So again, what I want to find out is that if the fuses pop and blow, I don't want power still to be fed. I want, when the fuses blow, it cuts off all power. All right, so I connected the ground, and I also connected the splice for the fuse tap. So my ground is connected there, my fuse tap is in, here's my cable. I'm just going to do a quick test just to make sure that there is connectivity there. Polarity for me doesn't really matter. I'm going to insert my probe, and I'm getting power. So my fuse tap splice is correct, and all I now need to do is just connect it up. All right, so right now I have my grill back on. Inside I also have the LEDs all attached with the adhesives. Right now it's actually on to the brightest setting, and in the daylight you actually can't see it. So that's, I guess, a good thing because you don't really need the extra light. So I have to wait till after dark to kind of show you what it looks like and see if it's any better. Just to show you that it's on, if I go closer, and if I look at the reflection, I can actually see the LEDs kind of turned on right now. And it's all there, but it's on the inside, so you can't really see anything else besides that. Nothing else there, so that's the only indication that you can tell that the LEDs, I guess, are on. And again, you can't see anything there. So I'll just come back at nighttime, after dark, and show you what it looks like. All right, so after I completed my LED installation and ran my cabling and did my fuse tap, I'm out here in the dark now in this park, dark enough so that I can see what the actual LEDs looks like. So if you can just look past the DRLs, you can see in the center grill there, I have the LED backlit LED for the CSL grill that I created. Now, what's special, I guess, about this LED is that it's also dimmable, so I can turn it completely off if I want it off, and I can turn it really high if I put it high as well. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust the brightness, and then I'll come back. All right, so I adjusted the intensity, so I put it on at its brightest view. So that's what the grill looks like on the backlit here. All right, so right now I have the backlit LED completely turned off. You can see it's dark, and you see my DRLs. I'm going to walk into the vehicle and get to my dimmer, and then I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to go from the lowest setting to the highest setting. All right, so I just turned it on. I'm dialing it up a little bit. Dialing it up a little bit. I'm going to go up some more. Bringing it up some more. Gradually bringing it up, and I'll let you know when I hit the max setting here. This is the max setting. All right, so I'm just going to reverse the process. I'm going to, at the highest setting, I'm going to go down, come down. It's probably about halfway now. Come down, come down, come down, and now it's off. All right, so now I wanted to actually do this test as well to show you what it looks like with the active shutters opened. So right now I have the vehicle on Sport Plus, and I crank up the AC really high. I have the headlights on and my DRLs on. I'll show you both. I'm gonna actually start the backlit LEDs at its highest setting. I'm gonna go into the vehicle. I'm gonna turn them down. I'm gonna dim them. Should be getting to the off position. Now what I'm going to do is turn off my headlights. I'm going to leave my DRLs on, and I'm going to turn up the backlit LEDs on the grill. And it should be getting to its highest setting, and hopefully you can see it through the active shutters. I'm going to come back out, go around, and that's my video. So I just want to demo what the backlit CSL grill looks like. Thank you for watching.